Good morning, everybody. Yesterday I was driving around and I passed by this house that out of the corner of my eye, it looked to me like there were two little kids and a dog in a fenced-in yard playing. First of all, kudos to that family for having a fenced-in yard to protect their dogs and their kids. But I didn't notice an adult with the children. It doesn't mean the adult wasn't there, but it gave me pause. It made me think about these situations. And I was looking up some stats. There are around 4 to 5 million dog bites that happen each year. And most common victims are children, especially between the ages of 5 and 9. And they happen during normal everyday activities. Some people think that dog bites happen when you're out and a stray dog comes up, or a dog that's unfamiliar to you, to your family. But most bites happen from friend pets, family pets, dogs that, like the neighbor's dog, dogs that people know, because people let their guard down when they're around these nice dogs. So kids are most likely to get bitten by a dog they know, not a stray dog. Also, kids are too young. I mean, even adults don't really know. Most adults don't really know how to read a dog's body language. I remember my ex and I would watch numerous videos of Cesar Millan to learn some of these things because we didn't even know. And we had dogs at that time for many years. But dogs often show stress before biting. They'll have a stiff body, they might yawn, they might lick their lips, they might turn away, they could show the whites of their eyes. So kids don't realize that these are warning signs. But they almost always give warning signs, kids just don't know how to read them. Now, there are also very high-risk situations where bites tend to happen. These are the ones often overlooked. And this has to do with the dog's natural instinct. The dogs protect what's theirs. The dogs are going to protect their food, so don't mess with the dog when they're eating. When they're sleeping or resting, don't mess with them. Think about when you're sleeping or resting, or when you're sick, and someone comes up and is like, and screaming or playing or, moving you around, whatever. That's really annoying, right? Dogs are no different. They don't like to be disturbed when they're sleeping, when they're eating, when they're sick, when they have a toy. That is their little territory. So never let a child disturb a dog that is eating, sleeping, hurt, or has a toy in their mouth or in their paws. Children are often bitten because they're at the level of the dog, and so they're often bitten in the face and neck and the hands. And many times it's because they like, what do kids do? They go up to the dog and they grab the ears because the ears look interesting and they're flopping around, or they grab the dog's tail, or they squeeze. I've seen like little kid like just grab and squeeze because the fur feels good. Bad, bad. Most bites happen to children. Happen in the face because the kids get too close. All right. Another thing to keep in mind is even the best behaved, best demeanor dogs have limits. So any dog can bite if they are scared, hurt, startled, or overwhelmed. If they've just had enough, if they just have enough of the kids, enough of the screaming, enough of the running around, dogs need to sleep. In fact, most dogs need about 16 hours of sleep a day. So dogs need their time out. They need their space. They need to chill. They get overwhelmed easily. Dogs are very sensitive. They pick up on people's energies. They pick up on people's moods. They're on guard, protecting, the house, the environment. They already have a lot going on. They're smelling, they're sniffing out what's out, what's out around in the yard, in the woods. So they get overwhelmed just like people can get overwhelmed. Size goes both ways. Some people get small dogs. They think, I'm going to get a small dog, a little, Chihuahua or whatever, because we have kids, so we're going to get a little dog. Small dogs are more fragile. So if you have a child, even if it's a 1-year-old child, 2-year-old child that's learning to walk, and you have a small dog, if that child falls on top of that dog, it could break its back, it could seriously hurt the dog, and it could make that dog scared of that child in the future, even though it was an accident. Dogs don't realize it was intentional. So a kid can fall on top of a small dog, and large dogs, they can cause more injuries if they react to, to something a child is doing. I mentioned yesterday I saw, I didn't see an adult in there. It could have been there was an adult. It could have been the adult was inside. I don't know. But just knowing that your child is around a dog is not enough. Just being in the room when your child is with a dog is not enough, because most of the time you're going to be doing what? You're going to be texting, you're going to be watching TV, you're going to be talking to people, cooking, cleaning, whatever. It's not enough to just be in the room. You have to physically supervise that interaction, be ready to intervene, and most importantly, teach appropriate behavior to the children from the time they're little. From the time they're little, if you go out on a walk and the child's like, oh, there's a dog over there, that's a time to teach the child. We don't approach a dog. We ask the adult, make sure it's an adult, not another child walking a dog, which I have another thought about that in another video. Approach the adult and ask if their dog is friendly, and if your child may pet them. And then you supervise and make sure that they're petting them gently and softly, and they're not in their face or grabbing any part of the dog. So teach appropriate behavior. So just remember, teach kids, no climbing on the dog, no pulling on any part of the dog, no grabbing their face or their fur or their ears. Don't grab their paws. No face-to-face contact, because dogs see that as a sign of confrontation, I guess. And always ask before approaching animals. And if a dog walks away, show your kids, leave that dog alone. It's had enough. Now, most bites don't happen because a dog is bad. It happens because a child and a pet were put in a situation where neither of them knew how to handle it. So supervision protects both. You don't want to have your dog put down. You don't want to have your child injured. Even at minimal, your child could just, if he gets or she gets hurt by a dog, could be scared of dogs the rest of their lives. It could really leave emotional trauma, even if it doesn't leave physical trauma. And you certainly don't want your dog to get hurt. So I hope these tips have helped, and I'll see you next time for some more tips with having pets. Bye.